history. Our next guest won South Carolina's U.S. House race last week, defeating the Democrat incumbent and flipping the seat back to the GOP. She is now the first Republican woman to represent South Carolina's 1st congressional district. Joining me right now is South Carolina Congresswoman-elect Nancy Mace. Congresswoman-elect, great to see you this morning. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, and good morning, Maria. Thank you for having me on and telling this story.
This was something that Kevin McCarthy has been talking about. He's so proud that the GOP was able to attract so many leadership women. Tell me what's attracting women and why we're seeing more numbers in female leadership in the GOP.
Well, we saw 2 years ago Democrat women sweep it across the country, and I think a lot of women were inspired. If we want more women to be in Congress, to have a seat at the table, then we have to run. And you saw the Republican Party really work hard to make that dream a reality this year. And we're going to double the number of Republican women in the House, and it's exciting and humbling to be a part of history. And they are tough women, they're fighters, and they're the new face of the GOP.
So tell me about the policies and the priorities that you have that you'd like to be working on as a leader in the GOP right now.
Right. Well, I've spent 21 years in business, and I'm a state lawmaker in South Carolina previous to this. And our unemployment rate in South Carolina is about 5%. And previous to COVID-19, it was 1.86%. So we've got a long ways to go to get there. But supporting small businesses, because they're the backbone of our economy. Over 50% of all new jobs in South Carolina come from small businesses. Healthcare is a big one. Whether or not Obamacare is repealed, within what framework can we make access to a better quality of care more affordable for hardworking Americans? And then infrastructure. Infrastructure and transportation was a big one in this district, but also one of the unique aspects of running along the coast of the United States and that have a beach community, but environmental issues are really important. I'm a conservationist, and when the president banned offshore drilling for 10 years off South Carolina's coast, that was a big deal, and that was a game changer in our campaign, and we're going to work on conservation and environmental issues too.
Yeah, I think you make a really important points, especially since you're coming before being in government from business. So you understand the plight of business people and why one of the things that markets were so worried about is the progressive plans of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris getting through the Senate. Tell me about those policies and what you'd like to see happen that would resonate with business people.
Right. Well, it's scary. If you read Joe Biden's tax plan, I mean, the taxes that are going to be raised, and he's saying it's only for the rich, but that's when we find out all of us are rich and we're going to pay higher taxes. But when there are tax breaks, like we had in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, businesses then reinvest in their employees and their businesses in their communities. I know in the 1st Congressional District, when we had those tax cuts, entry-level employees at fast food franchisers are making $15 an hour and about to get a raise to $20. We had a really great roaring economy. But that's why, too, the Senate races in Georgia are just so important right now. With those 2 special elections coming up on January 5th, if we hold the majority, Republicans hold the majority in the Senate, that'll keep a check and balance on Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden.
What are your thoughts about Nancy Pelosi keeping the speakership? I mean, Democrats secured the majority control of the House, even though they did lose several seats to the GOP. How do you see this playing out with Nancy Pelosi being the speaker? She needs 218 votes to keep that position.
Right. Well, that'll be up to Democrats, and I know that in my district, in South Carolina's 1st congressional district, my Democrat opponent, voted with Nancy Pelosi 90% of the time, and voters wanted to send a new Nancy to Congress. And I'm going to fight really hard against all the things that Nancy Pelosi stands for, and that includes socialized medicine, higher taxes, the Green New Deal. That's not what people want. And the untold story of this election cycle, Maria, are all of the Republican gains down the ballot, including Democratic General Assemblies, state legislatures turning Republican. When we just had the 2020 census with reapportionment coming down the line, I think there's going to be, if they don't come to the center, if they continue down taking this hard left to socialism on the Democratic side, they're going to have a very hard time keeping those gains and keeping the majority 2 years from now. So I believe they've got to moderate and come to the center, and we've got to work together.
How much do you think President Trump was helpful in terms of these increased number of seats in the GOP?
I think it was enormous. I mean, on both sides of the aisle this year, people were passionate and motivated, and people came out to vote for the president. There was a record number of folks, both Republican and Democrats, on both sides of the aisle. And in South Carolina's 1st Congressional District, we saw anywhere between 70 and 75% turnout this year. And that was a big motivator. People are worried about their checkbooks and their businesses and their jobs and having that security in the future, which is why a Joe Biden presidency and the higher taxes could do would be huge problems for us across the country.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll be watching. Congresswoman-elect Nancy Mace, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me,
We'll be right
Maria.
back. Thank you.